We live in a world where people constantly crave what they can't have. It's basic human nature. The moment something becomes too available, it loses its appeal. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone chase endlessly after something, only to suddenly lose interest once they actually get it? That's because value isn't just about what something is, it's about how rare it feels. And the same principle applies to you. If you're always there, always available, always reaching out first, you're teaching the other person that your presence is a given. They never have to question whether you'll be around. They never have to wonder what you're doing, and they never have to feel the weight of your absence. And when someone never has to consider losing something, they never truly appreciate its worth. That's why stepping back isn't about playing games, it's about restoring balance. When you step back, you're not just creating space, you're shifting the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they start noticing the silence where your voice used to be. They start wondering why you're not as accessible as before. And most importantly, they start realizing just how much of a presence you had in their life. That realization is powerful. It forces them to see you not as someone who will always be there no matter what, but as someone they actually have to put effort into keeping around. And that's when everything changes. You see, people value what they have to earn. It's why we cherish things we work hard for. If someone hands you a trophy without any effort on your part, you won't feel the same level of pride as you would if you had trained, sacrificed, and fought for it. The same is true in relationships. When someone feels like they have to work for your time and attention, they start valuing it. They start prioritizing it. They start appreciating it. And that only happens when you stop overgiving and start pulling back. But stepping back doesn't mean disappearing. It doesn't mean ghosting. It doesn't mean acting cold or indifferent. It means having the confidence to know that your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. It means showing someone that they don't just get unlimited access to you by default. Because when someone has unlimited access to something, they stop seeing it as special. They start assuming it will always be there, so they stop investing in it. They stop nurturing it. And that's when things start to fall apart. So if you've ever felt like you're the one always chasing, always initiating, always giving more than you're getting, it's time to step back. Not to punish them, not to manipulate them, but to remind them of your value, to remind them that you're not just an option. They have to earn the privilege of being close to you. And when they start to feel that shift, when they start to feel that distance, they'll begin to realize just how much they took for granted. And here's the most important part. When you do this, you have to mean it. You can't step back while secretly waiting for them to notice. You can't pull away while anxiously checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping they'll chase you. That's not stepping back. That's just pretending. True scarcity isn't about faking indifference. It's about genuinely understanding your worth and being willing to walk away if someone doesn't see it. That's the energy that makes people sit up and take notice. That's what creates desire. Because when you step back and stay silent, you shift from being someone who's constantly available to someone who has standards. And nothing is more attractive than someone who knows their worth and refuses to settle for less. So the next time you feel like you're the one always giving, always proving, always showing up first, ask yourself, am I making it too easy? Because when you step back and stay silent, that's when they start to notice. That's when they start to feel the loss. And that's when they finally realize that if they want you in their life, they have to step up and earn it. Most people can't handle silence. They rush to fill the gap, to explain, to justify, to plead their case. But the moment you understand that silence isn't emptiness, it's power, you shift the entire dynamic in your favor. The more you talk, the more you give away. The more you stay quiet, the more you control the conversation, the interaction, the perception of who you are. Think about it. The most magnetic people you've met, the ones who leave an impression, they don't waste words. They don't try to prove themselves with excessive talking. Instead, they hold back. They make you lean in. And when they do speak, it matters. Most people think that communication is about saying the right thing at the right time, but real communication is about knowing when not to speak at all. When you step back and resist the urge to fill the silence, you create a space where the other person starts to reveal more. They start to wonder, to second guess, to chase. Because when you don't give immediate validation, their mind starts working overtime to figure out what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and why you're not reacting the way they expect. You see this in relationships all the time. The moment you stop responding instantly, the moment you stop over-explaining yourself, you become a mystery. And mystery is the birthplace of attraction. It's what makes someone start thinking about you when you're not around. Because if you always give, always explain, always react, they never have a reason to wonder about you. You're just there, predictable, accessible, easy to figure out. And what's easy is rarely valued. The truth is, silence makes people uncomfortable and discomfort forces action. If you've ever been in a situation where someone is trying to argue with you, trying to pull a reaction out of you, trying to get you to break, nothing is more powerful than staying silent. When you refuse to engage in the game, when you don't give them the energy they're looking for, they're left with themselves. Their words start to feel empty. Their need for validation grows stronger. And in that moment, they realize they need you more than you need them. That's the shift. That's the moment when the balance of power changes. Not because you manipulated them, not because you played a game, but because you simply understood your own worth enough to know that not everything needs a response. Silence also signals confidence. When you're confident, you don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to rush to clarify, to justify, to seek approval. The person who speaks the most is often the person who's the most insecure. They're trying to convince others, trying to win them over, trying to get them to stay. But confidence doesn't beg. Confidence doesn't chase. Confidence says, I know my value and I don't need to explain it to you. Think about a negotiation. The person who talks the most usually loses. Why? Because they give away too much. They reveal their weaknesses, their fears, their insecurities. The person who stays quiet, who lets the other person fill the gaps, who isn't afraid of a little tension, wins. Because silence puts pressure on the other person. It forces them to make the next move. The same applies to dating. When you're always the one reaching out, always the one initiating, always the one filling the space with messages, compliments, reassurances, you're making it too easy. You're not giving the other person a reason to invest. But when you pull back, when you allow silence to exist, they start to feel it. And if they care, they'll move towards you. If they don't, then you've just saved yourself from wasting energy on someone who was never truly invested in the first place. People always ask, what if they don't reach out? What if they don't chase? And the answer is simple. Then they were never that interested. Interest doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need reminders. When someone wants you in their life, they will make sure you know it. Silence helps you see that truth more clearly than any words ever could. We live in a world where everyone is fighting for attention, where people are constantly shouting over each other to be heard, to be noticed. But the ones who stand out are the ones who know when to be quiet. When you stop trying to get people to see your worth and instead let them feel your absence, you become irreplaceable. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, to reach out, to fill the silence, pause. Let them wonder. Let them feel it. Let them come to you. And if they don't, that's your answer. Step back. Stay silent. Watch them beg. The moment you stop needing someone to validate you, everything changes. Think about it. When you walk into a room and you're looking for approval, you're scanning faces, hoping someone smiles at you, hoping someone notices you, what do you think happens? You shrink. Your energy drops. You give off this vibe that says, please like me. And that is the fastest way to lose value in someone's eyes. Because the person who truly commands a space, the person who turns heads without even trying, is the one who is completely okay whether or not they get validation from anyone else. It's an illusion we all fall into. We think that the more we prove ourselves, the more someone will see our worth. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. And when someone senses that you need something from them, they instinctively pull away. It's not because they're cruel, it's because neediness repels while certainty attracts. And certainty isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about proving your intelligence, your looks, your charm. It's about knowing deep in your core that you are enough. Have you ever noticed how the person who is least invested in the outcome of a conversation holds the most power? The person who isn't desperate to keep someone's attention, the one who isn't afraid of silence, that's the person who makes others lean in. Because when you aren't looking for approval, you automatically become more valuable. You become the scarce resource. And what happens when something is scarce? People want it more. Now let's talk about detachment, because this is where the real magic happens. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're cold or distant. It means you are secure enough in yourself that you don't need to cling to someone to feel good. When you detach from the outcome, you regain your power. You're no longer playing the game where you measure your worth based on whether or not someone texts you back, whether or not they notice you, whether or not they choose you. You stop waiting. And when you stop waiting, they start wondering where you went. See, the person who chases, who over-explains, who tries too hard to get someone to understand their worth, that person loses all leverage. But the person who is willing to walk away, who doesn't need to convince anyone of anything, that person naturally attracts, because it signals to the other person that they're dealing with someone who is complete on their own. And nothing is more attractive than someone who is complete. Think about the last time you felt deeply drawn to someone. Was it because they were desperately trying to get your attention? Or was it because they seemed effortlessly confident, like they didn't need you, but they chose to be around you? That's the key difference. When you step back and hold your ground, you give people a chance to step forward. And the ones who truly value you will. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think, okay, I'll step back, and if they don't chase me, it means I've lost. But no. You haven't lost, you've just exposed the reality of the situation, because the person who truly values you will always notice your absence. The person who actually cares won't just let you go. If they do, then they were never really in it to begin with. And isn't that something you'd rather know sooner than later? When you internalize this mindset, your entire energy changes. You stop walking into situations hoping to be chosen. You start walking in knowing that you are already whole. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop trying to impress. And suddenly, people start paying attention in a way they never did before. Because your energy is different. You're no longer grasping for validation. You're standing tall in your own confidence, and that is irresistible. So, if you want to shift the dynamic, step back. Stay silent. Let them feel your absence and watch what happens. People only truly appreciate something when it's no longer readily available. It's human nature. We don't stop to value the air we breathe until we struggle for it. We don't cherish the warmth of the sun until we find ourselves in the cold. And when it comes to relationships, romantic, friendships, even professional dynamics, this principle is just as powerful. You see, people can become numb to your presence when you're always there, always available, always responding, always giving. They get used to it. They expect it. They stop seeing the value in it. But the moment you step back, the moment you create space, something fascinating happens. They begin to feel your absence. And in that absence, they start to reflect. They start to wonder. They start to miss what they once took for granted. It's not manipulation. It's a natural recalibration of value. Because when something becomes too accessible, it stops feeling special. Imagine your favorite song. The first time you hear it, it moves you. But if you play it on repeat, it loses its impact. It becomes background noise. The same thing happens with people. If you're always there, if you're always the one reaching out, making plans, checking in, filling the silence, you stop being exciting. You stop being someone they need to think about because you're always present. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop initiating, something shifts. They notice the silence. They feel the space you once occupied. And in that space, curiosity grows. They wonder where you are, what you're doing, why you haven't reached out. People crave what they feel losing. That's why in relationships, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop being predictable, you become more desirable. And it's not about playing games, it's about recognizing your own value. If someone doesn't appreciate your presence, let them feel your absence. Give them the opportunity to realize what life is like without your energy, without your effort, without your consistency. And here's the beautiful part. If they care, they will notice. And if they don't, well then you have your answer. Most people are afraid to step back because they fear losing the connection. They think if I don't text them, they might forget about me. If I don't reach out, they might move on. But ask yourself this, do you really want to be with someone who only stays because you're the one doing all the work? Or do you want to be valued, appreciated, chosen? The right people won't forget about you. They won't replace you just because you gave them space. In fact, space is what reminds them of your importance. It creates contrast. It forces them to recognize the impact you have in their life. Think about the times in your life when you've lost something or someone. Only in their absence did you truly understand what they meant to you. It's the same in reverse. The people in your life need that same moment of realization. So let them feel it. If someone is pulling away, let them. Don't chase, don't beg, don't overcompensate. Just step back and observe. What you'll find is that people who genuinely care will come back. They will reach out, they will put in effort. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to stay. It's not your job to convince someone to value you. Your job is to show up fully, love deeply, and if that love is not reciprocated, to walk away with your dignity intact. The right people will never need to be chased. They will meet you where you are. They will feel your absence and take action because they truly see your worth. So step back, stay silent, let them feel the void, and watch what happens. When you stop explaining, justifying, or over-communicating, something fascinating happens. People start filling in the blanks themselves. They start wondering, questioning, and analyzing in ways they never did before, and suddenly you become the center of their thoughts. Not because you pushed your way in, but because you left space for them to come to you. Most people think communication is about saying more. They believe that if they can just get their point across, explain why they're valuable, prove why they matter, then people will see their worth and act accordingly. But that's not how attraction works. That's not how influence works. In reality, the more you try to convince someone of something, the more resistance you create. The more you explain, the less impact your words actually have. And ironically, the more noise you make, the less people hear you. The moment you step back and say less, you shift the power dynamic entirely. Instead of pushing for an answer, you create an open loop in their mind. Instead of trying to control their perception of you, you let them form their own. And here's the kicker. People believe what they conclude on their own far more than what they're told. Think about it. When someone suddenly stops texting as much, when they stop making an effort to always be available, when they go quiet, what happens? The other person starts wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they losing interest? What changed? That internal questioning is what creates curiosity, and curiosity is what fuels desire. It's the unknown that keeps people up at night, not the things they already have figured out. The problem is most people are afraid of silence. They fear that if they don't explain themselves, if they don't check in, if they don't constantly prove their worth, they'll be forgotten. But true confidence comes from understanding that silence is a tool, not a weakness. It's a strategic pause that allows someone else to step forward. And when you give people space, they begin to see your absence in ways they never noticed your presence. This is why people chase what they don't fully understand. The moment you stop providing all the answers, the moment you stop making it so easy for them to take you for granted, they have to do the work. They have to figure out where they stand with you. And that right there, making them work for clarity, is what creates emotional investment. People value what they have to earn. They rarely value what's handed to them on a silver platter. We've all been in situations where we felt like we were losing someone's attention, And what do most people do? They panic, they overcompensate, they send the extra message, they try to keep the conversation going. They ask, is everything okay? As if trying to fix something that may not even be broken. But here's what that really does. It removes all tension, it removes all intrigue, it answers the question before they even have time to feel its weight. And when there's no tension, there's no spark. Instead, the bold move is to resist the urge to over-explain. Resist the need to be understood right away. Let people sit with their own thoughts. Let them notice the change. Let them question it. The moment they do, you're no longer the one chasing validation. You've just become the person they need to seek clarity from. And that shift in dynamic is everything. This applies in every area of life. Relationships, business, friendships. The most compelling people, the most magnetic individuals aren't the ones constantly broadcasting their worth. They're the ones who know when to step back and let others come to them. They're the ones who understand that mystery is attractive and that curiosity is far more powerful than persuasion. When you stay silent, people will create their own story about you. And in that process, they'll start seeing you in a way they never did before. They'll remember your presence by noticing your absence. And that's when they'll start chasing. Not because you forced them to, but because they can't help themselves. Let them wonder. Let them feel the space you've left. Because when you do, they'll beg for the answer. We spend so much time chasing, convincing, proving our worth, thinking that if we just say the right thing, if we show them how much we care, they'll finally see what they have in front of them. But the reality is, the more we chase, the more they run. The more we try to hold on, the more they pull away. And this isn't just about relationships, it's about life. It's about respect. It's about power. The moment you stop running, the moment you step back and focus on yourself, everything shifts. When you chase someone, you're telling them without words that they are the prize, that their attention, their affection, their validation is something you need to feel whole. But what happens when you flip the script? What happens when you stop reaching out, stop over-explaining, stop trying to get them to see your worth? Something incredible happens. They start to feel the absence. And absence creates space. Space for them to wonder, space for them to question, space for them to realize that maybe, just maybe, they made a mistake in taking you for granted. It's a simple law of human nature. People want what they feel they can't easily have. The moment you stop making yourself so accessible, so predictable, so eager to please, you shift the power dynamic. Instead of waiting for their response, instead of analyzing their every word, you redirect your energy. You become the person who doesn't need to be chased. And that, paradoxically, is what makes people chase you. Think about it. When someone is constantly available, when someone is always saying yes, always there, always waiting, there's no urgency, no tension, no sense of what if I lose this. But the moment that person steps back, the moment they stop engaging in the same way, the moment they stop proving themselves, a seed of doubt is planted. And that doubt is powerful. Suddenly, the person who was once so sure of your presence starts to question it. They start to feel the shift. They start to notice that you're not so easily won over anymore. And that's when the tables turn. That's when the texts start coming in. That's when they start asking, are you okay? Where have you been? Did I do something wrong? That's when they start working to win back the attention they once took for granted. But here's the key. This isn't a game. This isn't manipulation. This isn't about playing hard to get just to make someone miss you. This is about genuinely stepping into your own value. It's about understanding that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone, that your worth isn't determined by someone else's attention, that you are whole whether or not they choose to see it. And when you truly embody that, when you stop running, stop chasing, stop trying so hard, people feel it. They feel the shift in energy, they feel the confidence, and confidence is magnetic. So what do? You step back, you stay silent, you focus on yourself. You put that energy, the energy you are pouring into them, back into your own life, your own growth, your own happiness. Because the second you do that, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, you stop asking for things that should be freely given. When someone values you, You won't have to beg for their time. When someone sees your worth, you won't have to convince them to treat you right. And when someone truly cares, they won't need to lose you to realize what they had. But for those who do, let them feel the absence. Let them sit with the silence. Let them be the ones who wonder. Because the moment you stop running, they will.